All right, we are now live and recording, and within about a minute, I'm going to go ahead and click the webinar, get us started here because we're a minute away, and then we'll do the introduction and the whole bit. So, ready?
Mhm.
Well, hello, welcome tonight. We've got one of our expert panels I'm very excited about. Life's Co-Pilot tries to bring these things to you. Life's Co-Pilot is brought to you by Caring Transitions Indy North. We try to provide services for seniors and all the things that basically for seniors, their family members, and caregivers. And tonight we got Bruce Muller, who is he is with SHIP, SHIP. So what the heck is SHIP? And so, Bruce, I want to have you introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and then tell us what the ship.
What is okay? Have to be careful here and enunciate quite well, or you get into trouble. It was tough back in COVID days when you had to have a mask on.
Yeah.
Uh, but again, my name is Bruce Muller, and I am with SHIP, which is the State Health Insurance Assistance Program. And we provide help for people approaching Medicare age or who are already on Medicare to help them understand, the benefits that are available to them and then ongoing problems and situations. Every state has a SHIP program. It's about 32 years old. And when you sign up for Medicare through Social Security, to make things more confusing, and you have questions about Medicare, Social Security will give you our number. And if you have any questions when you get that big fat Medicare U book every year about the changes in Medicare in general, the back of that book has our number too. And those are all per state. So if you lived in Kansas, your SHIP Medicare book will have their number. But we essentially are Medicare itself. We are funded by the federal government. And in Indiana, we fall under the umbrella of the Indiana Department of Insurance. And of course, that means that we are not insurance agents and we are not affiliated with any insurance companies, but we can help you sign up for the various aspects of Medicare. We operate with a combination of volunteers and paid staff members. Those folks are through the area on aging organizations. And then around the state, we do have a little over 200 volunteers at various sites around the state. So, for instance, here in Indianapolis area, or kind of central Indiana, which is where I operate, we have sites at Danville and Carmel, the south side of Indianapolis, north side of Indianapolis, Hendricks County, like I say, Danville, Hendricks County, Hancock County. I go down to Monroe with a site there. So we have lots of places where people can go if they want in-person help. We can also do it over the phone too. But the volunteers um, uh, have had extensive training in Medicare, and it's ongoing training. Just to get started, it's 4 days of very intense training, and then they sit with a experienced volunteer to learn the ropes and go through a lot of the procedures that they might run into. And at any time, if they have a problem or question that they don't understand, there's always a upper level staff person who can help them. One of our staff people did retire from more than several years in Social Security, so we can do a little bit of overlap with questions when Medicare ties into Social Security. And we also have a relationship with FSSA for people who are on Medicaid, for when they graduate from Medicaid to Medicare, what do they have to do to, now that they're 65 and older. So, that's one of the main things that we do, is just to help people understand Medicare. For instance, so many people who are still working nowadays, and now they're 68 years old. What do I have to do to sign up for Medicare? or I'm turning 65. Am I still working? Do I have to sign up for Medicare? Questions like that. There's a lot of misinformation about Medicare floating around. One of the problems that really confuses people are all the ads that you see on TV from insurance companies. And they talk about all these various benefits that one can get when they go on Medicare. And those ads are basically aiming at someone who is on both Medicaid and Medicare, because they do get a few extra benefits because of their financial situation. So when somebody's new to Medicare, we help them decide how they want to take their Medicare. There's two ways to do it. There's what we call original Medicare, or alphabet soup. That's the various parts, the A, the B, the D, and so on and so forth. So we help them understand that way, plus the Advantage plans, which operate a little bit differently. And we do a full explanation of the different ways that you can do your Medicare. However, we are not going to recommend which way you go. We're going to explain it to you so you understand how to compare it, but it's still your decision as to what you want to do. We will not say, oh, in your case, you should do this or you should do that. We want you to, understand how you can take your Medicare and have an active role in the decision. We don't want to tell you what to do, and then 10 years from now, you don't like what you did and say, well, that's what they told me to do. Well, we're not going to do that. And again, not being, a insurance company, we don't have any financial compensation or gain in which way we recommend that you go to take your Medicare, because it can be pretty confusing. It's not as easy as comparing apples to apples. It's more like comparing apples to oranges and trying to figure out which one is better for you. But those are things that a SHIP counselor can help you, wade through it. We can help people who are federal employees. What do I do? Postal workers, railroad workers. I go to the VA. How does Medicare tie in with VA? All kinds of things. One of the other things we run across again is someone who has been on Indiana healthy Indiana plan, the HIP, and now they're graduating to Medicare. What do I have to do, as I graduate into Medicare? And also too, is there's the new Pathways program, which is going to be a little confusing for most people to understand. Once it's broken down into the various parts, it's not really too hard to understand. But there's going to be 3 companies that are going to manage the Medicaid and Medicare plans. They're going to manage that, so there's going to be, I'd say, less choices, but it's going to hopefully be better in that it's going to be better coordinated, and there's going to be some added benefits in it. But that's still in the initial stages, and it tends to be changing
Yeah,
a
that's
little
pretty
bit.
confusing
It's
stuff right
still
there.
emerging and changing, but it's as it comes into focus, I think it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, but no pressure. We just have to make the decision by the end of this month. That's okay. But only
Yeah,
thing we can for you. So other than that, no big deal. But yeah,
yeah.
so yeah.
Well, as you know, Jim, and that you've been looking at it, and it is, um, in some ways, it's just like you do look at your other plans. You have to look and see which one is which. But they're going to have some care managers there, and I think it's going to give a little bit better help to folks that are in that situation.
And we'll find out
But like
that.
I said,
So
it's still a little bit of a work in progress.
yeah.
But in
So
terms of how
now
Medicare, operates, all in all, I think Medicare does a pretty good job. The main thing is one has to be comfortable with the decision that they make and how they're going to take their Medicare. But we're always here in case something goes wrong and they need to appeal something, or again, we have a gentleman who grew up and his whole life was in Social Security. He can sometimes help us if there's a kind of a jam up with Social Security. But one way or the other, we can pretty well get the answers to your questions. Um, you may not like them all the time, but we can get the answers when you get into a sticky situation.
Now, you and Ship are not going to sell any particular thing or promote one thing over another. You're just going to explain them in detail so that people can make a decision.
Right.
That in
Right.
itself probably sounds time consuming, because I know that I've been dealing with Medicare for dealing with my mom and my uncle for a while, and it's just so confusing. And then, now that I'm jumped into it, it's like it's still confusing. So, you lean into people for help. So
That strangely enough, I find that people who have extended education and I would say that, a little bit higher level occupation have a harder time understanding it because you try to figure out why is it like this.
yeah.
I compare it to when computers first came on the scene, and many adults that would have help from a younger person. You say, how did it do that? Well, don't worry how it did it. This is just how it works. So it's kind of that way with Medicare. Don't worry about why it's like this, but this is the way it is. And it is hard for a lot of people to understand it, especially if they've worked for a company that's had a company plan. And, once a year you get your choices of A, B, C, or D, and you look at it and you go, oh, okay, I think that's the best way. They've never had to really weigh the benefits between or pros and cons between the different plans that the company offers them. So that's a little bit more difficult for them because now they have to you, they have to dig in and see how the plan works and what it's going to do for them. On the other hand, in some cases, when it comes to explaining an advantage plan, they have a little bit better understanding of it because they've dealt with the deductibles and all this sort of thing. So sometimes they're better able to understand it.
Well, I would say that's probably true, because I know that, when I first looked at it, the Advantage plans made more sense because they were more familiar. But then, then you look into it deeper and you may have a different opinion as
Right.
you start digging through.
Right.
So let me ask you a question. Since you don't sell it, you don't recommend it, you counsel, but do you you help write the paperwork up, make sure they get all the right I's
Oh,
dotted, T's
yeah,
crossed?
we can sign them up. Let's say they choose whatever drug plan because we have a plan finder that we can plug in all the drugs and see which plan pays covers the drugs the best. And nowadays people have to be careful because some of the advantage plans are giving you some bells and whistles, and sometimes people are more worried about the gym membership than they are and how the medical and drug end of it. But when we pull up a drug plan, we see, or excuse me, or any plan, whether it's a drug plan or an advantage plan, um, we see all the plans that are available in our area. Those are all purchased by county. So if someone talks to their sister in Fort Wayne and Allen County and they tell them, hey, I really love my plan by XYZ company, that plan may not be available in Indianapolis, or it may be available with a few little different touches to it. So you have to go by county. That's why when someone moves in from out of town, uh, if they're with an advantage plan, then they do have to shop and make sure that the plan is available here, or get a different plan. So and I always tell people too, if they're getting ready to take their Medicare benefits, when you come to us, we're going to explain it all, lay it out. But many times people come and they've talked to their sister, their aunt, their fellow workers, and the postman. And now they're totally confused as to what they should do. Um, but we try to straighten that out and, clear your head. If you're going to come talk to us, just, don't get yourself so overwhelmed with the information. I have a lady who was totally confused the other day, and we got her on the right track. And what she had done was to go online and start searching stuff. And instead of going to Medicare.gov, she happened to pull up Medicare.com, and she gave all of her information to a company. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, so now um, she has a new best friend for life. And that's what you have to be careful about. What you're
Was it
doing,
a
because
company
there are
or
so
was it
many
a scam company?
lookalikes, and you think you're
Yeah.
pulling up Medicare, and it's not. But the Medicare.gov site can really give you a lot of good information, and you can even sign up through there. And it's pretty user friendly site. If I can use it, anybody can use it. The only thing we can't do is to sign you up for a Medigap or supplement plan. Those are the plans that if you take original Medicare, Part A is free, Part B is where you pay $174 for the Medicare through your Social Security. Um, but we pay 80%, you have to pay the other 20%. And that's where a Medigap or supplement plan comes into play and pays that other 20%. And we can help you search for them all and to see which plan you know, is better for you. But we just can't sign you up for it. Many times you can pick a plan and call the insurance company right there and sign you up for it. But we can't do that personally. But the good news is when someone is shopping for those plans, and many times people don't find this out until it's too late, is that those plans are all standardized in terms of the benefits that they offer. And I have had people where they call and they've called 16 different companies to see what their plans like, and then they come to the realization that oh, guess what, they all do the same thing. But they have there's some ways of determining which plan you want and how they do their costs and whatnot.
Well, it's like,
um,
I'm looking through the pathways right now for my uncle, and two of the companies, well, all three of them, the base plan is exactly the same. And then and then you have these little tweaks they do at the bottom to try to make them sexier than the next guy.
yeah.
And two of them to me look exactly the same and have no benefits to him at all with where his lifestyle is at the moment. And the one I'm going, well, this one might have a benefit here or there. So anyway, but you just try to weed through this stuff.
Yeah, and I quite honestly haven't studied them enough to say which is better, because again, all I'll do is point out the differences to you, and then you have to decide which different
Well, right
features.
now I've got his nurse advocate doing a job for me at the moment. I'm having her get a hold of his different doctors to make sure which plans that they take. If they don't take all three, then that would be a good thing to know about before I get
Right,
into it.
right. Yeah, and then
So,
too, with those plans, he can stay on original Medicare if he wants to.
well, yeah, it's just, but he's on the Medicaid waiver, and so that's where you get into this thing. So,
Yeah.
um,
So
so now I recall having conversations with you before, talking about you've had people come in to get people, get your team to look at their situation. And you were talking about one lady that I don't know if she had the wrong drug plan. I don't know what it was, but she was spending thousands of dollars that she should not have been. So
what
so
one of the
people
things
maybe have the wrong plan, don't know it.
Well, that's one of the things that people do, and probably with any of your insurance, whether it's your house or your car, is that you put it on automatic pilot and not worry about it. And people do that, and that's what we do in the fall enrollment period is look at your plans, look at your Part D drug plan, look at your Advantage plan, and make sure that all your drugs are covered, and at what cost. Because in this day and age, if you can save $10, you want to save $10. But this was a case, yes, you're right. and we do have this happen, where at our site in Bloomington, a doctor did refer the lady to the SHIP people, and we went through her drug plan because he said, I just can't believe that you're paying, I think it was about $33,000 out of pocket. And came to us and we looked at it and changed her drug plan, got a drug in the plan, and it covered almost about $32,000 of it. And she just never checked and just figured, well, this is the way life is. I have to pay this. When in reality, she didn't have to. She just had never checked. And the good news is she had the financial wherewithal to pay it. The bad news is, because she did have the financial wherewithal, she just figured, well, I've got to pay this. And we did save her, a little over $30,000. And that's not the best or worst one we've ever had. We've had some that have been higher than that.
Well, you may have financial wherewithal, but if you spend it that way, you run out of it sooner than later. So
Yeah. And one of the other things too, a lot of people have been using GoodRx or something like that. And in actuality, sometimes GoodRx, some of their drugs are of the lower level tiers. Their plan is maybe a little cheaper than Medicare. But the dangerous thing to do is to rely on that and not get your Part D plan or an Advantage plan with drugs in it, and say, oh, that's covering my drugs, okay. But when the big one happens, if you will, and you need, what I call real drugs, you're going to be in trouble.
Well, why don't we do this? Just for anybody that's watching this that maybe has not put their toe into the pond yet of getting into Medicare A, B. Could you kind of go through what those are, just so people can, understand the language?
Sure. Okay. So part A, that's the portion of Medicare that's free. And that's basically hospitalization. So that's going, that's what that's, going to cover. Many times people that are still working may take Part A. And there's some things, if, ands, or buts about that though, but they might take that because that can act as a secondary to their primary work insurance. Part B is primarily for physicians, medical equipment, and several other things in there. But when you start your Part B, that's where we're going to take $174 payment. So if you're not on Social Security, you need to pay that quarterly. If you're on Social Security, many times people deduct that out of their Social Security. So you've got A and B, and that's where on B, we pay 80% and you pay the other 20%, and that's unlimited. So if you got a $300,000 bill and you don't have the Medigap or supplement insurance, Medicare is going to want, that 20% of that. But when you have the Medigap or supplement plan, that will cover that. So you basically end up with, no out-of-pocket expenses. So you have your Part A, your Part B with a supplement, and then Part D as your drug plan.
So what is this? Does supplement have a letter that goes with it, or
no?
Okay.
No,
The Medigap is just the
That's your
Medigap.
Medigap or supplement plan, and it just goes along with your Part B.
Okay.
And so that's your alphabet soup.
And B is drugs, right?
B is for drugs.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the plan. We shop for that either as a separate plan or through an Advantage plan. But what we're doing is we're looking at make sure it covers all the drugs. And then we take a look at the drugstores that you would like to use. And we make sure that there's one available. That's what we call preferred, because that gives you better pricing. And so we might pick out three or four different drugstores that you go to, and then 2 or 3 different plans. And then when that comes up on the screen, then we can compare the drug prices, and we can look at the total cost for a year, and then choose a plan accordingly. And then to continue with confusion, Part C is what we call those are the Advantage plans. And they operate a little bit differently than original Medicare.
And those are actually
So
from an
that
outside insurance agency. Is that correct?
those are by an insurance company. Those are what you call managed care. So the company now manages the care, your health care more, like I guess you'd say, almost more than you do. They have the final say. Now they have to do everything that Medicare does, but but there are certain things and certain rules they go by, depending what kind of plan you get. Some of the plans you will have a primary physician, and if you want to go to a specialist, you have to have permission. Some of them you don't have to do that, and so then the various costs to them are different. But in place of that 80-20 situation, they will have what we call a maximum out-of-pocket expense. So let's say it's $5,000 a year. I mean, it varies from company to company. It can go up to as high as $8,300 a year. But let's say the particular plan is $5,000 out of pocket. Once you reach that $5,000 out of pocket through copays and deductibles and everything, then everything else is covered. And that resets every year. And the Advantage plans too. Now, those are the plans that might have some dental or some vision or hearing in them. But the main difference is that these plans, all your services, doctors or hospitals or rehab facilities, all have to be within their network.
Okay.
And the other thing is when you have an original Medicare, you go any place in the country and that supplement plan follows you. With an Advantage plan, you are covered for emergencies. But if you stay in Arizona for 6 months and you're somebody that has to go to the doctor every couple of weeks or 3 weeks, whatever it is, then you need to find a doctor that's in that plan in order to be covered. Otherwise, you're out of network, which they may cover you, but they're going to cover you at an extra cost. So you might incur an extra out-of-pocket expense or deductible expense being out of the area.
I have been told that when you're first signing up, you're 65, whatever, and you're first signing up, that you are automatically guaranteed acceptance and all that kind of stuff. But if that's on the government one, the actual Medicare, right? But if you come back, let's say you went on an Advantage plan and then all of a sudden say, hey, I want to switch gears and go back, you may or may not. Is that correct? Or
right? Well, it's in theory, you can go back to anytime you want to go back to original Medicare, you can. In practicality, after your 6-month initial enrollment period is up, now they can underwrite you, meaning that they can look at your health situation and determine, yes, we'll take you back, or yes, we'll take you back, but here's the cost. So, people say, yeah, you can switch back and forth. Now, when you first sign up for your Medicare, you could be very, very sick. I mean, you could be at stage 4 cancer, but you're treated just like any other healthy person. There's no underwriting. They can't deny you for anything. And the supplement, and same thing, you can get a supplement at that time, and they can't underwrite you because you're sick. The only thing they can ask you about is your age, gender, do you smoke, and where do you live? Again, those plans are determined by location. But if you're on original Medicare, you can go to Advantage plan anytime, during the open enrollment period. And that's one of the things a lot of people do is, oh, I wonder if I want to change. But the theory that I'll go on original Medicare, or I'll go on an Advantage plan, but then if things start to go wrong, I'll go to original Medicare because of maybe some pluses to it or ease of doing business with it. You might not be able to do it because of health. And there's a, again, here we get back to the old thing of which way is better. Yes, the supplement plans do increase in time. Um, but one of the things I point out is, if we get to 90 and something medically goes wrong, it's usually an emergency situation or an urgency situation. So if you're on an original Medicare with a supplement, you just go and have the issue taken care of. You don't worry about, is this specialist in the plan? Is that specialist in the plan? Is the facility, and so on and so forth. Um, there's an ease to doing business. And yeah, there's a cost to it too. Um, but we still recommend to somebody, if you take an Advantage plan and it appears to be less expensive, you need to set some money aside. Of course, depending on your financial situation, but for most people, if you've got a $5,000 maximum out of pocket, you might want to have a little bit of uh, I think in the old days they called that a sinking fund. In my old economics days, you might want to have that set aside. Just like with your house, to save money, you might carry a higher deductible on your house insurance, but when that roof damage occurs and your deductible is $2,000, I need $2,000 to repair my roof. So you still have to, watch your financial P's and Q's.
Right. Well, very good. So the just trying to think as far as how, when someone's first getting started looking into this, you guys go through, help them go through all this kind of stuff and just kind of let them explore what the things are and to help them figure out. Is that how it
We've
works?
got kind of a step-by-step approach to it, and I just don't have everything here, to show you different things. But we have some sheets that you can look at and see the pluses and minuses of an Advantage plan versus an original Medicare, and walk you through it pretty well. We do have what we call, for groups, and we use it too with individuals. It's a Medicare 101. So, tonight we just kind of hit here and there, but we do have a step by step as to what you face, um, with approaching Medicare.
So kind of tell me if if someone they see this video tonight and they go, oh my god, I thought I heard a shit before but I didn't know what it was. So so this is something I might want to look into. What's the what's it going to be like when they make that phone call or walk into an office, or how's it? Tell me kind of what they're
Well,
how
most of the
you're going to
time
help them.
somebody is, they might make a phone call and, I'll take some overflows, or they want to make an appointment in person. So they just have to call, and then we put them in touch with the particular site, and they, give them that number, or it's listed in our listings, to make an appointment with a counselor. Lots of times we can handle a lot of it by phone to explain to them the differences. Um, and that works out pretty well too. But it's kind of a step by step, when we compare the plans. And just talking like this, it does seem a little bit confusing, but once you sit down and look at it, it's not as bad as it first appears. The main problem is that a lot of people have talked to everybody that they know and just gotten a lot of misinformation. Um, one of the biggest being, I'm still working past 65, but I'm told I have to sign up for Medicare. Well, depends. If you're working for a large employer over 20 people and you have what we call a credible group insurance plan, you can work until you're 90 and you don't have to sign up for Medicare. So we answer all those kind of questions. When they come in to the office, again, we have a kind of a procedure to sit down and, get their facts and everything. We like to have, if you come with us, we want to, have your list of drugs so we can pull up a drug plan and go through the whole thing for you to help you decide. And we can print out, some a prospectus, so to speak, of the different plans, with your drugs, and you can take it home and decide what you want to do. But usually when somebody comes in and they're new to Medicare, we can help them through it. It can take about an hour or an hour and a half to sit down and really go through it and make sure you're getting the plan that you like.
Is
Some
it
people, it's harder than that, and they just not sure what they want to do.
is it a good idea for people who've been on Medicare for a while to have their plans looked at, or
But that's what you do in the fall.
okay?
If you think, well, I need to, mainly you want to look at your plan because of your drug prices. Sometimes people who are on original Medicare in the fall, they want to see, I wonder if I should look at an advantage plan. I've got a particular drug that's not on my plan right now, and I need to get that on a drug plan. So we look for a drug plan that will do that. Or I just want to shop and see if, I spend X number of dollars a year on my drugs. I want to shop and see if there's a better drug plan or advantage plan that's going to cover that. I ask people sometimes if they, looking at a different plan. Well, we do talk about the drugs and the costs, but are you happy with your plan? Yeah, everything's working. At my doctor, everything's fine. And, I said, well, then stay where you are. You might be just asking for trouble if you go to a different plan. But that's what we do, is to help people take a look at that and determine if they do want to change plans.
How often is it a good idea for someone to have it looked at?
We should look at you, especially if you're on a lot of drugs, or even not a lot. If you're spending, you might have just a couple of drugs that are expensive. You might, look at it every fall to make sure maybe I can save $20 a month on my drug or whatever.
I have a question. So let's say, for instance, it's not fall, it's not the open enrollment period, but let's say your physician suggested a drug they want you to use, and it's like off the charts expensive. Is that something that they can make a phone call and go, "Hey, is there a plan that this would work for me?"
No,
Okay.
but you have to look for a different drug at this point. What happens more than ever is that you try and get just a different drug. Sometimes the doctor can find a different drug for you.
Well, it's like, well, let's say, for instance, one of those things that you go, okay, I'm going to not take it now, but if I can call and find out that, hey, there is a plan that takes it and all of a sudden it cuts it in half, or it does this or does that, next open enrollment, I'm going to jump, that type of, I didn't know if that makes sense or not.
Yeah, you can look. Yeah, and one of the things we recommend is that you do get a Medicare online account, because what that's going to do is, let's say it's fall now and you want to look at your plan, that's going to pull up all the drugs that you're on. So you don't have to plug them in all the time. So then you can go through and you can see your list of drugs and delete or add as needed.
Okay.
So yeah, you can do some searching around. And the other thing too is that, with an advantage plan, if your doctor drops out of the plan or the facility, then that can happen during the year, and then that just that's kind of a problem for you. Not that happens that much, usually, not too much, but the main thing is that sometimes people get a drug that's really expensive, and have to deal with it.
Well, very good.
And,
Well,
and
Bruce,
there are programs for folks with lower incomes that can help them pay for some of the Medicare costs and also the cost of the drugs. So, it's always good to, check and see. It's it's a relatively low amount per month, but if somebody's making less than I have to look here for $2,300 a month with their Social Security and maybe a little pension, then there's some programs that are going to help pay for like that $174 premium, and then also a program that's going to help them with their drugs.
right.
So that's always beneficial to take a look at too.
And I'm just going to say this for people to keep in mind, and if they have questions, to start asking questions. There's another opportunity, is if they are making more than $2,300 a month, they might want to talk to an attorney to find out about Miller's trust.
Right.
Also,
Yeah, that's a whole nother issue.
I know, but I just wanted to throw it out there so people don't think this is like carved in stone. You know, it's carved in stone, but it's soapstone. If that makes you know, it's
Yeah.
soft, and you can make some adjustments.
Well, and I think you would agree with me. The closer we get to retirement, some of us are closer than others. I mean, I'm way over, but is to um, get in touch with an elder law attorney.
It's a
And
they're worth their weight in gold.
there's some things that personally, I mean, I wish I had consulted about Social Security back when I first signed up and did what I did. And I mean, I would have really liked to have talked to somebody that's a expert in Social Security, just like talking to someone like a ship representative who's knows their way around Medicare.
Well, Bruce,
So it's
I really
important to
appreciate your time today talking about all this. Is there anything that you absolutely want to make sure they hear before we take off tonight?
No, we're available for any questions. No question is too simple. Um, I always tell people, yeah, we have lots of information. We help you do all these different things. Be careful about what everybody else tells you. Everybody's an authority, but make sure you're really speaking to somebody that knows what they're talking about. And like I say, we answer questions, we help people. We're not a
Right, we're
typical
starting to have
government
connection
agency.
problems, but well, Bruce, I want to thank you so much for coming. I think we've just lost you, so we're going to go ahead and close out tonight. But thanks very much. I'll send this video to you so you can use however you want, and we'll have it on Life's Copilot. It'll be under the if you go under resources on lifescopilot.com. Under resources, there's a video library, and Bruce will be on there explaining this in there here in the next day or so. All right, so all I have to do is process the video. All right, so thank you guys. We'll see you soon.
Okay. All right. Night.
Bye-bye.